So 2021 has been a great year for laptops in my opinion. And in this video, we're gonna be talking about what laptop you should purchase in 2021. And I wanna help you make that decision. Now, since my MacBook Pro videos launched, specifically the new M1 Pro and M1 Max, I've been getting a lot of feedback on those videos. I've been called a Windows fanboy, and I've been called a Apple MacBook Pro fanboy, equally on the same video, which I always find very interesting. And in my opinion, it usually leans more on the commenter than it does on myself. So for you right now, before I even start talking about which laptops I like this year and which ones you might consider, do you think I'm a Apple fanboy or a Windows fanboy? You might think I'm a Windows fanboy because I have a stack of Windows laptops and only one lowly Apple laptop. Or you might think, man, what an Apple fanboy. He's featuring the Apple MacBook Pro 16, M1 Pro, and M1 Max in the focus of the video. He is such an Apple fanboy. Comment below. Now, to help you pick the right laptop in 2021, I've singled out 6 different categories to help you really decide between a stack of Windows laptops or the number of Apple laptops that are available on the market. We're going to cover mobility, budget, performance, longevity, fanboy factor, and ease of use. So let's get started. Crap, I need that list. So let's get started with mobility. Now, mobility is kind of a twofold category. It considers the thin and lightness of a laptop, a very thin laptop like the Samsung Galaxy Book Pro 360, and the longevity of a laptop as far as the battery life is concerned, as well as the quick charge capability. So something like the MacBook Pro M1 Pro or M1 Max or straight MacBook Pro M1 would be considered one of the most mobile-friendly laptops because it can charge fairly quickly, and then once it's charged, it can run at full performance for anywhere from 10 hours if you're doing a lot of heavy video editing, all the way up to 18 to 20 hours on really any of the new MacBook M1 models if you're doing web browsing, video playback, or productivity like Zoom calls, writing emails, filling out Word docs, etc. So in regards to the length of mobility in a laptop, if you want maximum battery life and maximum performance, then you want to be looking at the Apple lineup. You want to be looking at the Apple MacBook Air, the Apple MacBook Pro 13 with the M1, and the Apple MacBook Pro 14 and 16 with the new M1 Pro and M1 Max chips. Those will give you ultimate mobility because they have the longest battery lives and they don't have to be plugged into the chargers to receive full performance. Really, any of these Windows laptops over here, in order to get the full performance out of the laptop, you have to be plugged into the charger, which makes it not advantageous to choose this laptop if you're somebody who's on the go a lot and doesn't have the opportunity to always be plugged in to get full power for, say, video editing, 3D modeling, After Effects, and the like. But if you're somebody who's on the go a lot and you're really just doing productivity, then one of these laptops could be very advantageous for you. For instance, either the Samsung Galaxy Book Pro 360 or the Asus ROG Flow X13 both have great battery life. The Galaxy Book 360 has better battery life, and the X13 has really solid battery life. The X13 gets about 13 hours of productivity battery life, and the Galaxy Book gets about 18 hours of battery life on productivity tasks. Now, keep in mind if you're interested in any of these laptops and if you want to know my top picks of the year, because I'm not going to talk about every single one in this video, but I will list all of them in the description below. So you can check out the laptops that I think are the best of the year. Now, if you do make a purchase through any of those links, I will get a small commission, but at no extra cost to you, but that's what keeps this channel alive and the helpful content coming your way. So in regards to mobility, in my opinion, this year, because of these new M1 chips and because you can run your laptops at full performance, if you're a creative professional, I would lean you towards any of the MacBook Pro lineups. Now, if you're somebody who ends up doing a lot of productivity tasks and you really don't do that much heavy lifting as far as like video editing, 3D modeling, After Effects, and the like, then I would lean you towards a Windows laptop with an Intel Evo platform. Now, that sounds like marketing jargon, but it actually does make a difference. So if you're looking at laptops and you see this sticker, the Intel Evo sticker, okay, it's called the Intel Evo platform or an Intel Evo laptop. That means that Intel has worked very closely with a brand like Samsung or Lenovo or HP, whatever laptop the sticker is on. And what they've done is they've optimized that processor inside of the laptop for maximum battery life, quick chargeability, Wi-Fi 6. Basically, it's become the most refined laptop combination between brand and Intel, which is the person who makes the chip. Similar not completely, but similar to how Apple controls the entire ecosystem, Intel is trying to get that happening by partnering with brands. However, they're probably never going to get there because Apple has everything in-house and they're obsessed with that quality control and making sure everything is so perfectly optimized, which is why we're seeing these machines do so well this year. Click the button for Apple fanboy. And then click the button for Windows fanboy because these are half the price usually. Now, if there's anybody looking for a Ryzen laptop, the Ryzen 9 5900HS for the more higher performing laptops, but still does great for battery life because it's kind of a mid-range, high performance / mobile processor, I would get the Ryzen 9 5900HS. Now, if you want a more completely mobile laptop, I would get the Ryzen 5 5600U or the Ryzen 7 5800U or 5700U. Those laptops have good battery life and are good for on the go. However, during my test, I've seen the Intel Evo platform laptops get better battery life overall, maybe by an hour or 2 hours depending on the task that you're running. So, it's really what you need. Now, before we hang on in the mobility category too long, let's get into the budget category. And that's where the Windows laptops really stand out because usually you can get a Windows laptop for about half the price and the equal performance to the Apple laptops. So that's where people started talking about the Apple tax. And really what you're paying for with the Apple tax is the R&D and the development that Apple's putting into their machines. And what I mean is Apple controls the ecosystem around their product, which means they control the performance of their product, which means they control the price of their product. It's not really a culmination of the parts. It's more of the R&D that's gone into the product, the assembly, the build materials, and production, and then marketing and all that other stuff. But it is really worth the Apple tax, in my opinion, because now with this year's models, you have great performance and great mobility. Now, keep in mind that you will have equal performance to a MacBook Pro, M1 Pro, as, say, a Lenovo Legion 7 Slim. Okay, so this laptop has the latest Ryzen 7 5800H, the RTX 3060 graphics, 16 gigs of RAM, and 1 terabyte SSD. In my opinion, and through my testing, this gets nearly the same performance as the MacBook Pro 16 M1 Pro. You might have slightly less drop frames from this laptop because it's far better optimized with Premiere Pro than this laptop because Ryzen processors are slightly less optimized in Premiere Pro. So from a video editing standpoint, they're going to be pretty similar. The MacBook Pro might be slightly better in performance. But this MacBook Pro sitting in front of me is around $2,700. This is the base model of the MacBook Pro M1 Pro, and that's including tax. Again, if you want the live pricing, head down in the description below and click that link. This laptop out the door is around $1,600 to $1,700. And that's a little high on my estimation. So for $1,000, you can get the Windows laptop. So in a budget standpoint, the Lenovo Legion 7 Slim would be a better choice. Now, sitting below the Lenovo Legion 7 Slim is the Asus Zephyrus G15 with the Ryzen 9 5900HS and RTX 3080 graphics, which is actually better performing for gaming, 3D modeling, After Effects, and video editing in many regards. Video editing, it's a little more on par as the M1 Max. Okay, so the MacBook Pro 16 M1 Max is very similar to the Asus Zephyrus G15. Now the M1 Max out the door is around $3,700. This laptop, the G15, is around $2,400 to $2,500 depending on, the tax of your state and shipping costs and all that. And depending on where you are in the world. I always forget that. Forgive me, my international guests. So with that in mind, budget friendliness is moving always towards the Windows gear. Now, what we discussed earlier with mobility is you're unable to get full performance out of these laptops unless you're plugged into the charger, which is why people are saying Mac dominates no matter what. Plus, people are also saying, Ben, you're forgetting that these laptops, the new Apple products, are not fully transitioned onto Apple Silicon native apps for the Adobe suite. So that will make them better in the long run. And you would be absolutely right. However, they're still double to triple the price. So this becomes much less of a debate of which one performs better, and it becomes much more of a debate for what do you need out of your laptop and how much can you afford to spend. My wife, generously pointed out that people will just go out, probably get a credit card, and swipe their credit card and have 18 months or 24 months of payments on a MacBook Pro and spread it out to around $120 over the next 2 to 3 years. And I thought, that's a really good point. People could do that. I personally would not recommend that, but this was a conversation we were having, which in today's age makes a MacBook Pro much more attainable than say 10 years ago when interest rates were not so good on credit cards and you didn't have like 18 to 24 to 36 months of interest-free payments. So keep in mind when you're buying a laptop, I would, be weary on if you want to put that on credit. Maybe you want to save up the money, pay for it cash. Maybe you're somebody who's okay with buying on credit. That's more of a personal decision. But my point in bringing up the credit statement is I can see where people don't see these as expensive because they can, push it out on, 18 to 24 to 36 months of payments with zero interest. And all of a sudden you're basically, renting the laptop until you have it paid off and then you've owned it for, small payments over 3 years. So that's where it's like a little bit of give and take with the pricing category. All right, before we hang on too long in the budget category, let's get into performance. And as I was saying earlier, the Apple series, any of the Apple MacBooks, MacBook Airs, MacBook Pros are not required to be plugged into your charger cord to get full power. The Windows laptops are. Okay, so that's the big benefit of getting an Apple laptop over a Windows laptop. And I'm not gonna bring performance benchmarks up on the screen for this video, and that may upset some of you, but I have full dedicated reviews for any of the laptops that I recommend. I've reviewed all of these that are sitting here on the table. I've reviewed many that are around the office. And so head on over to my channel if you wanna check out a specific video and the performance that it has. And that will save this video a lot of time. And again, I'm sorry if that does frustrate you, but I just don't want this video to go on and on and on. And I want to cover the topics from about 10,000 feet, not 30,000 feet, but around 10,000 feet, because this will cut through a lot of the noise and a lot of the chatter around Apple fanboy versus Windows fanboy. Okay, so in regards to performance, a lot of people say, well, if you're going to have to keep your laptop plugged in to a charger, why not but just buy a desktop PC? Why are you buying a laptop? What are you doing? You're a fool. You're ridiculous. You're an idiot. These are all the wonderful comments and all the wonderful people on YouTube commenting to you when you ask a really reasonable question of, should I get a Legion 7 Slim or an Apple MacBook Pro? But then again, people destroy people in the comment section. That's neither here nor there. I'm sticking out for you. I'm sticking up for you, okay? The reason that somebody who does not want to get a desktop PC and would rather get a one of the popular ones of the day, the Lenovo Legion 5 Pro, is because they don't want to be glued to their desk permanently, okay? When it comes to using my desktop PC, which I do a lot of my video editing on, I'm stuck there. I do not have the option to take my video editing rig to my parents' house. Let's say we're going to go over there for Thanksgiving, and we're going to stay a couple days, right? And when I'm there, oh man, I've got a video to edit on Friday, day after Thanksgiving. I'm going to take Thanksgiving off, but the day after Thanksgiving, man, I got to get that video edit done. I cannot pick up my desktop PC video editing rig and, waddle on over to my parents and set it up and easily just be on the go, okay? I can't take it on the plane with me. It just doesn't make sense. Also, let's say you're somebody who has 2 office spaces. Okay, so you're somebody who works here at home, but then you also work in a dedicated office. Well, there you go. You can't just pick up your entire PC rig, move it over there and set it up and start doing it. It just isn't efficient. So the reason somebody might want a mobile, powerful PC that saves them some money, but has to be plugged into the wall for full power is the ability to be mobile with that product, but not have to be walking around the house editing videos or walking on a job site editing videos, which in my opinion, who is doing that? It's really hard to edit videos like this. I've tried. It's like, okay, get it, one hand. Okay, anyway, sorry. Okay, next is longevity. And this is a category that I would really just lean into the MacBook Pro. MacBook Pros have historically been long-standing, long-lasting laptops. For instance, I'm using a 2015 MacBook Pro as one of my day-to-day business laptops, okay? Before that, I had a 2010 that lasted me 7 years. This one's coming up on 7 years right now. And my wife also has a 2014 that still works very well. So the thing is, longevity usually leans into more of the Apple products. We see a lot more older Mac products than we do Windows products, and that's true. Now, will these laptops last longer as they're developing better R&D, they're developing better quality control? It's very possible. I've just never personally held on to a Windows laptop for that long. I know when I was younger, my dad would have the old compact laptops. They're basically the thickness of like two of these laptops. And it usually lasted anywhere from 2 to 3 years. So when the Apple laptops came along, it was like this mind-blowing longevity opportunity that laptops would last a lot longer. So I would still put my vote towards Apple laptops being the longer lasting laptops. If you differ, if you've had a laptop that's lasted you 5, 10, 15 years and it's a Windows laptop, please comment below. I want to get your full feedback and opinion. Comment everybody who has a laptop that's lasted at least 10 years or 7 years. 7 years, at least 7 years. If you're a Windows user, it's lasted at least 7 years. Comment below, I want to know. Fanboy factor. Okay, this is probably the largest determining factor of why people buy laptops. Let it hang out there like a bad fart. Okay. We are highly subconsciously influenced by our peers. Every time somebody yells at you and calls you an idiot on YouTube, you feel it. You feel it a little bit. I feel it a little bit. And so what that does is it gets you to question your decision. It may not initially motivate you towards one of the products, but it gets you to question your initial knee-jerk reaction of what you need. What features, what compatibility, what functions you actually need. And it gets you to question them. And you might end up making the right decision. You might end up making the wrong decision. But the fanboy factor is huge. We have huge raving Apple fans that say the MacBook Pro is the only laptop you need and it can edit anything. And then you have people over here on the Windows camp that say, why do you need all that expensive on-the-go battery life? My Windows laptop edits super fast. It's totally the best laptop I've ever owned. Why are you being an Apple fanboy and just buying the hype? Both perspectives have their truths. This laptop is extremely mobile. This laptop is very hyped. It's why when this laptop launches, every channel that never talks about tech is all of a sudden giving you their MacBook Pro review. Am I right? Everybody wants to get their 2 cents in on these models. But then when this laptop drops, arguably, in my opinion, one of the best laptops of the year, the Lenovo Legion 7 Slim, not everybody's going out and buying them and talking about them. Or the Asus Republic of Gamer Flow X13, probably the best mobile laptop of the year for video editors and creative professionals. Nobody runs out and buys them and puts them on a credit card and reviews them till the sun comes home. That's why there's a lot of Apple fanboyness that is projected from the Windows camp towards the Apple camp. All right, ease of use. Okay, now ease of use comes in a number of ways. Number one would be the operating system. I personally prefer the Mac OS operating system, 80% of the time. There's 20% that I do on Windows daily that I love. I love the simplicity of the Windows system, how there's not really a lot of catch-alls. You can do basically anything you want. You can right-click, left-click, move stuff, rename stuff. There's never really any gates. The reason Apple is such a great operating system is because there are gates in place to keep people from hacking into the operating system, which is why Macs are known for the last 25 years to be virus-free, and Windows are trashed. The old Mac versus PC ads are trashed at being slow, archaic, virus-prone, sickness-prone computers. Your average user can pick up an Apple product, use it for 7 years, and never have an issue. Your average user picks up a Windows product, like my grandfather, and in about 2 years, he's wondering why it's slow, it has viruses, and then all of a sudden it just dies. Because a Windows product takes knowledge on really how to truly care for it effectively so that it doesn't get viruses, so that it doesn't wear out, so that you are, doing a fresh operating system reset every, 2 years. At least about every 2 years, I do a full wipe of my system and I completely reinstall the operating system. You really don't have to ever do that on a Mac. So the use case, the ease of use of an Apple product is one of the greatest benefits of buying it. Whether you buy MacBook Air, MacBook Pro 13, or MacBook Pro 14, 16, you're just gonna be able to turn it on, use it, and have no issues. You could quickly run into issues with the Windows product because it is an open product. So I would say ease of use is gonna go to the Apple. So overall, punch for punch, if we're saying which laptop should you buy, if you're an avid computer user, you understand laptops, and you're also on a slightly smaller budget, I'd go for a Windows laptop. If you're somebody who just wants to turn your laptop on, it works, it runs, but you're willing to spend the extra 100%, and I say that in all seriousness because you can get, let's say, MacBook Air compared to like a Lenovo Yoga laptop. It's going to be half the price for the Lenovo Yoga laptop, or, the Lenovo IdeaPad, $500 versus $800, or $450 versus $850, whatever. Right here, you have that MacBook Pro 16, around $2,700 for the M1 Pro, versus, like I said, the Lenovo Legion 7 Slim at around $1,500 to $1,600 out the door. So that's where it comes down to. In my opinion, what do you need? Because at the end of the day, one of my favorite lines I've heard on YouTube in the past 6 months, they're just tools. Links if you're ready to make a purchase, likes if this video has brought you some value, and subs if you don't want to miss out on the future uploads. I'll see you here in the next one.